to, and I don't like to use that term, meet parents where they are, but meet where we all are. So that may mean going out to where parents are, removing all those barriers that create issues for parents coming to our schools. And, you know, we know during COVID, we had to have some of that just to keep everyone safe and social distancing. But now that we're back regularly, we are regular form, I guess I want to say, we are opening our doors to all of the families that come to Danbury. And the other thing that we heard from families is that they wanted to become better educated with what their children are doing and how they can be part of their child's education even more. And so we use what's called the Connecticut Framework for Full and Equal Partnerships. It is a framework that was developed by Ann Henderson, under some of the work that Karen Mapp had done. And Danbury was one of the highlighted districts in this new framework when we put together what is a full and equal partnership. So Ann Henderson ran several groups here in Danbury with parents, with teachers, to find out exactly what was that definition of full and equal partnerships. And from that, we've really built out this whole framework. So Mike, if you want to go to the next piece. So my original position when I came into this position or came into the district in 2008 was really to oversee our before and after school program, which you'll see in the upper top left, and our school readiness program, not school readiness, the Family Resource Center. It then morphed into overseeing the school readiness program. And at that point, we had two sites. We had one at Mill Ridge School with 2 classrooms and one at Morris Street. And then as things morphed and we received funding, we were able to move in for the first renovation that we did in 2009, 2010 at the 49 Osborne Street building. And then from there, it just kept building. Then Kevin came in as our superintendent and said, so who are your family liaisons? And I said, we don't have liaisons. And he said, well, let's see how we can make that happen. And so we then added family liaisons to the work that we're doing. We then formalized, or back in 2010, when we moved into the building at 49 Osborne Street, we really focused on making that a one-stop shop for families. And so you'll see that's where the Family and Community Engagement Center came in. We received that nice federal grant from the federal government, some set aside money from the State Department or the Secretary of Education. And we were able to redo part of the building and start a family literacy center. And so we had families coming in and out of the building, receiving, food, receiving books for their families. And then about at the same time, somebody over in central office said to me, we need to bring in more grants for this district. How do we bring in more grants? And I said, well, you need a 501c3. And the district didn't have one. And so in 2013, we incorporated a board of directors, and it started off as the Danbury Family Literacy Center, was incorporated in 2013, and in 2015, it received its 501c3 status, which allows us to take in grants from companies, from private foundations, and really be able to bring in extra money, not extra money, but money for programs. Family, will pay for our upcoming Family University in November. It pays for a lot of the things that we do for families in the district. Along with that, we were also able to bring in partnership schools, which is part of the Joy Epstein model through a federal grant through CREC out of Hartford. And so those schools have specific learning initiatives that they're working within their students, learning goals, behavior goals, and family engagement goals. So let's go into the next piece. And at the end, we'll talk about special initiatives. So the whole purpose of the Family and Community Engagement Center, and I certainly hope that we can do something about Meet the Board at our center, is it's really a one-stop shop for our Danbury families. It's welcoming to the families as they come in. We speak multiple languages there, so no one should feel that they are coming in and not going to hear someone or be able to speak to someone that speaks their language. I'll skip over New Promise program just for a second. The major reason that families come to there is to register their children. And so when they register their children, they go through the online process of doing the registration first, and they bring in proofs of their documents. And then they can come back for play groups that we run. They, upon registration, receive a really nice welcome packet that tells them all about community resources. It has where they can go for heating assistance, SNAP. We make sure our families are signed up with Husky. We make sure that they know what's going on in the community, different types of programs that they can register in. At that same time, if they need the before and after school program, we can register them in that. And if they have younger children that are 3s and 4s, we can register them into one of our 2 school readiness programs. We also are a resource and referral. So a family might come in and say that they need, more food. So we refer them out to the different food banks that we run. And we really make sure that families have what they need. Particularly during the pandemic, we heard from a lot of parents that didn't know how to use the technology. They questioned, how do they get on Versatran? And out of that work came this new Promise program. The new Promise program is Module 1, which we have fully developed at this point and have been running courses on it. So it's Module 1A through 1P, or 1P, or Q maybe now. And so parents can take that in 2 or 3 nights. And they learn everything about what is Google Classroom, how to sign into PowerSchool, how to use Schoolology is one of our newest things, how to find where the menu is, how to use Parent Square, which is our new communication platform that we use, and just a lot of other questions. We designed this with Karen Mapp, who is the guru of family engagement, with her students out of Harvard. And so they were able to gain, the Harvard students were able to gain credit for helping us design this program, but it's specific to Danbury and it has the Harvard stamp on it. So we're very proud of it. And Lindy funded all of the program for us. So that's really what happens at the Faith Center. Families can come there if they just need to talk, if they need to really work through something, they'll come in. Every day is a little bit different of why parents come to us. Next slide. So the before learning, the extended learning programs is really our before and after school. It's our summer sensational program. It's our 21st century learning program. It's a whole bunch of different programs that's the main focus is to extend the day, help with homework to make sure that children that don't have help at home can get the help they need by certified teachers and by our associates. It's small group tutoring. And then, of course, we focus in on wellness and recreation, team building. The students in the afternoon might be building something with Legos, homework completion, and then some field trips that we do as well. We're very fortunate to be a long-standing district with the State Department of Ed for having 21st century learning programs. And so you may hear, well, my school charges $18 an afternoon and my school charges $5 an afternoon for the same program. Well, the 21st century program funds us at a high enough rate that we're able to offer that discount to parents. And so every time that grant comes out, we apply for more schools. Right now, we have 4 schools. So we have Broadview, Rogers Park, Shelter, and Haystown School. We will reapply most likely for Park Avenue and Ellsworth School in the next go around for grants. Underneath me, I have 2 wonderful program managers that actually run the programs. They split up the elementary and middle schools to oversee them. And then at the schools, we have site facilitators that are the folks that are on the ground who really focus in on what happens with the students, and then the associates maintain that 1-to-10 ratio. Along with that, I also have data folks and an assistant program manager that help run those programs. Okay, so you'll see some fun things we do, family components, cooking, Zumba, homework and social skills, family literacy, family activities, and coming up on Saturday, November 5th, we have our first family university. So next slide. So school readiness is a program through the Department of Ed, as well as the Connecticut Office of Early Childhood. We have had 56 slots for some time now. And so those programs started off at Mill Ridge and Moore Street. And then when the schools needed space, we moved to Cottage Street. This past year, one of our Danbury programs closed. And so we received more slots. So we now have 85 slots for children. And so in the new annex building, we have 3 school readiness rooms with 60 students there. And then at Sacred Heart, we have the rest of the students there. We are doing enrollment, and we're also still looking for staff. And that program functions with 1 full-time director, a full-time parent educator, and 11 teachers. And like I said, we're always looking for more staff. So if you know someone that has an associate's in early childhood, is working on their bachelor's degree, please send them our way. We also have full tuition reimbursement for staff through our Connecticut Charts of Course Registry for staff that comes to work for us. We are licensed through the Office of Early Childhood and accredited by NEYC. And so what supports that is our slot money per child from the Office of Early Childhood, our Care for Kids subsidy, which is a state subsidy, and our parent fees. Great, next slide. And please stop me if you have any questions at all. So our Morris Street Family Resource Center is also under the State Department of Ed, and I've given you the actual link there so you can read about it. And so the FRC has 6 components. It is a resource and referral for parents that come to Morris Street School. They also have a parent as teachers home visiting program. So under that grant, we have a full-time director, a full-time parent educator, a youth director, and then we have certified teachers that run some of our science and gardening clubs at Morris Street School as well. Part of the Parents as Teachers Home Visiting program is for families that may have children birth to age 5 who may be at risk. It might be a single family. It might be a family that doesn't have enough to eat. There may be some social emotional issues. And so we have a caseload. We normally carry in a year of 12 to 18 families that receive these home visits by our parent educator. And then there's all kinds of resources that they're given. They're giving strategies on behavior management, things to do and activities for their children, as well as we run a play group once a week at Moore Street School as well. Also, one of the components is making sure that we have a good after-school program, and that, that's where part of the funding goes to the FRC to help recruit children for that program, and then the ELP program of my team actually does that work. We do youth development and then school readiness. I apologize for the double typo in that one. So, okay, next slide.
It's there. I'm at Liaisons.
Okay, there we are, Liaisons. So this is our newest project that we've had this year, and I'm really excited to say that as of September, every school in Danbury has a family liaison. So its goal is to really build a strong bridge between families and schools, resulting that schools or that families feel welcome to attend school events, and that they feel like they are equal partners with our schools, that they're part of the decision-making process, that they're able to give feedback to their principal. And one of the best things that we did was our welcoming school walkthrough that we did in the spring. And I think a couple board members attended at different schools in that. Parents that did attend said they really felt like their input was valued. And that's what we wanted. When you're in a trusting relationship and you feel valued, then you feel good about it and you want to continue that relationship. So those are the things that we're really building. When a new liaison comes on, we do a 6-hour initial training with them. And then we have weekly PD or check-in sessions. We are instituting the home visiting model that will be running on October 25th with our liaisons, so that they're trained for that home visiting model and understand, the different ramifications of how to do a really effective home visiting. And then we have full PD days. We are happy to say that Dave Beckel from Cross Country Consulting is the one that actually evaluates the program. And so at the end of last year, we asked principals what they thought about the liaisons and how we could strengthen the program. We also ask liaisons at least once a month, what can we do to strengthen the program? So we hear from them on what type of PD and activities that they want. And so the feedback from principals has really been encouraging. They feel that the liaisons have added a lot to their school all of the liaisons are bilingual, if not trilingual. So when families come to schools, immediately there is someone that speaks their language, and they don't have to go to find our third party on phone calls to get translation. These folks can actually call home and speak in their native language. So we're building that bridge. Many of them come to PTO meetings or go to PTO meetings, making that call to parents to say, we have a PTO meeting, or I'd like to do a home visit with you, or, can you come in and talk to your child's teacher, problem solving with their child's teacher and things like that. So the liaisons are really an integral part of building that bridge between our schools and home. And our next slide. So as I said, and I'll go over this really quickly, it was incorporated, the Danbury Family Learning Center, which we changed our name when we became incorporated, operates under an 8-member board. And we just were at our president's wake and funeral tomorrow. So we will be reconvening our group the week after next to invite more members and to vote on a new president. The FLC, as we call it, supports the Faith Center, supports parent and family training, like I said, that November 5th date. And we can also be the fiscal agent for grants and other financial initiatives that we're able to bring into the district. So, our next slide. Partnership schools, this is from the federal grant. And so we have Ellsworth Park, the Early Childhood Center, South Street, and Mill Ridge that are part of this. And so they fill out an extra set of documents that are in with their school improvement plans. And we work with them very closely with their liaison to be able to do those goals of 2 academics, 1 behavior, and 1 family partnership goal. Okay, next slide. I know I'm pushing through these. So the other part of what falls underneath me is really special initiatives here in the district. A lot of it is grant writing. I am happy to say we just received a nice grant, or notification of a grant from Nellie Mae this past Friday. I work very closely with the Department of Ed and the Connecticut Trust Fund to bring funds into Danbury for our parent C groups and people empowering people. We also run with the Richfield VNA health clinics twice a month. Just Friday night, we had 27 children finish off their health physicals and their vaccines so they could start this school this week and next. We also foster and support the Mr. Walston Superintendent newsletter. And last week, we rolled out our first issue or edition of the newsletter that comes out of my office. So hopefully you all receive that and saw the really exciting things going on. We have supported, and this is where my assistant director, Grace Molina, comes in. She has done a fantastic job at supporting the implementation of Parent Square to our district, helping secretaries understand how it works, helping all of us on the leadership team to understand how it works so that we have a really solid platform so our parents can talk to us and we can talk to them and keep them up to date on everything. We spend a lot of time with community forums and outreach. One of the superintendent's goals, and everything that I do links back to those goals, but one of them is really to hear from our parents, hear from the community. And this will be very important as we further develop the Pathways Academy and work on our budgets over the next couple of years. And then we have ongoing family education besides all the different workshops that you saw that came out in that newsletter. Parents supporting educational excellence. We had a great group, I think, of 20 people that graduated in May. Same with people empowering people. We run Zumba, healthy meals, Les Sera, which is another program just in Spanish. Read and you will be. Positive discipline, supporting school success, and of course, the new Promise program. In the next 2 weeks, we'll roll out the new district website. And so that will be another way to really help parents be able to find information easy, which hasn't always been easy on our website. And then lastly, the strategic planning that we've been doing, originally started with a lot of our equity work that we started with in 2018. And so we look at things through an equity lens as we plan the strategic plan to make sure that we have the goals and the action plans that are really going to be best for all of our families in the district and that will support academic growth for our students. And that is it.
Thank you, Ann. Yep.
Madam Chair, if I
Russo?
might,
Mr. Russo?
I have a question,
Sure.
concern, and hopefully you have voiced the solution. It just went over my head. We've had an inordinate amount of student disciplines.
Mhm.
And it's my undated, quantitative data opinion that there are way too many of them, and we need heavy parental engagement with their students.
Mhm. Mhm.
How does your plan address that? And Gladys, if I've missed something, please feel free to chime in.
Mhm. So I'll start with this and then I'll turn it over to Kevin to talk a little bit more about other things happening in the district. We know if parents have the tools that they need to understand how we work in our schools, then they're going to be able to provide better guidance for their students. And so in all the work that we do, especially the new Promise program, we have a whole part in there on discipline and where to find the discipline policy and how it is followed, how we expect families to reinforce that with their students. So I would say the first line of defense is really having parents educated on what it is and then giving them the tools that can really help support their students, stay out of trouble, stay online, stay engaged. We know that families that are really engaged with our schools have less behavioral problems, especially as their students grow older. So, we're seeing now more and more parents coming to events at the middle school. That wasn't the case 5 or 6 years ago. So we're hoping that this new trend of getting families engaged from the time that their children are babies, and then when they enroll in our school readiness programs or one of the other community school readiness programs, that they'll take advantage of all of these different programs to learn how to be, I don't want it to seem like I'm saying parents don't come with skills. We know parents come with skills. We just have to help educate them a little bit more about our expectation in our schools. Yeah.
Absolutely. That you can expect this discipline trend to continue until the younger kids or the parents that have joined our district have progressed through the classes until the upper school, or is there some immediate way we can? There's just been way too many, like I said, discipline hearings.
Yeah.
And,
When I came in, Mr. Russo, a lot of it that parents would come to things, preschool, kindergarten, 1, 2, 3. Well, we really did this focus on helping those parents to continue to stay and the importance of being engaged. You have a daughter, our daughters grew up together. Remember those middle school years? They were brutal. And so we're telling parents right off that we can, help give you some of the tools that will make those years easier for you. And we are seeing more parents stay engaged through the middle school level. And so I think some of our initiatives, working with the PTO, working directly with the high school, will be able to get that education to the parents and hopefully stop some of these issues. Yeah. Multiple. Go ahead.
Just a quick question and to follow up with Al. I think it's very important. Well, I know it's important to reach students while they're young.
Yes.
But as we talk about the discipline policy, I see now that we have to start teaching it and explain it to parents at a much younger age.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe a demonstration as to what happened, a mock demonstration as to what happened when it comes to expulsion.
Mm-hmm.
How board members are selected and deal with the expulsion hearing. Because if kids and parents are going.
Mrs. Cooper, we lost you. Gladys, I don't know if you can hear me, but we lost your audio.
They're not going to take it. They rather play a game than to go on and read about the policy, disciplinary policy. So I guess what I'm trying to say, how can something formally be set up that we can really start engaging parents and students now, before they even get to the middle school? Because now we know things are happening before they get to the middle school.
Mm-hmm.
So that's sort of my thought.
Okay. Okay, so I'll say from my side, we will give that a lot of thought. I'll work with the leadership team. I'll work with this committee and with Superintendent Walston and Dr. Seelig, and we'll come up with, really making some focus action steps for that. Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
And any sort of timeline you could project on the action steps?
I can't. Let me meet with my team. And let me bring in Kelly Trucius as well, our Assistant Superintendent of Special Services. This would be a group effort on how we roll this out.
Thank you, Ray.
Yep, you're welcome.
Dr. Mead, I have a quick question. I just first want to express my condolences for the loss of the president on your board. But it did bring forward a question about how are the board members selected for that?
So when we originally started the board, I went out and reached out to like-minded folks. We've always had a link to the larger Board of Ed. And then it was Eileen Alberts that when she was done with the Board of Ed in 2016, joined our board. And so we look for other members to suggest people that align with our mission of helping families, get the skills that they need. And so we're open to anyone that is aligned to our mission.
Okay,
The organization.
thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions before we move forward?
Right here. Quick
Sure,
question
Michelle.
on the home visit protocol. Can you go over that a little bit more? Is it, voluntary? Is there two people that go to the home? Like you were mentioning training. So I'm just wondering about that a little bit more.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Michelle. So for the family visits that we do through the Family Resource Center, they are trained with the program that's called PAT, Parents Teaching Program. This is something that all of the FRCs are mandated to use throughout the state, parents as teachers training. And so they take initial training, there we go, that lasts for 2 or 3 days. And then both the FRC director and the parent educator are recertified every year through that in order to stay funded, we have to be recertified through that. There is a whole protocol that you go through to determine who your families are. And when the visits first take place, the first 2 to 3 visits, it's both the director and the parent educator goes out. The visits are voluntary. If a family's not comfortable doing it in their home, we might do it at a park. They might come into the school to do the visit. They might choose to do it at the library or wherever they're comfortable in doing it. But we are very careful that our staff are going into safe homes to be able to have these home visits. And I would say probably 95% of our families attend playgroup too. So it's not just they're getting the home visits, but they're coming to playgroups. They're going to other things that we offer. They attend the Charles activities on Thursday night once a month, where that's all done in Spanish to talk to other Spanish families on topics that they want to talk about. So we are careful with our staff that we have those protocols in place and that they follow the PAT model in order for us to keep our funding as well. And there's a whole reporting piece that goes back to the state on every visit as well.
So how do these families get selected?
So the families come to playgroups and then they're asked if they want to be a PAT family, parent as teacher family. It could be that the social worker in the school is working with a Moore Street student, and the social worker might have some concerns, or in talking to the parent says, I just don't know about what to do with my younger children. And so the social worker or school psychologist, principal, or the teacher can refer them to our director or to our parent educator for those visits as well. So it can be through a referral, or parents just are very interested in what this is to get more information. When they do the initial sign up for it, they do a risk assessment sheet, and that determines whether they should, under the PAT model, receive a weekly visit, every other week, once a month, or something like that. a different schedule.
And you were saying that all the notes go back to the state, so is
The
it
note,
confidential, whatever
it is,
happens in
it
that
is
home?
confidential. It is confidential.
Okay.
It goes into what's called a CAN system, and that's a system that the State Department of Ed uses both for the reporting for the FRCs and for all our 21st century programs. So it's not tagging a child to a particular issue. It's more, we served, 18 families this month, and, here's how we dealt with those risk factors with the family. We provided more food. We helped mom to reach out to the women's center
Okay.
or their new name, things like that.
Okay.
Yeah, it
Thank
is
you.
confidential. Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
In the interest of time, and I see your hand up, Mr. Russo, but it's 5:40 and we have some other things on the agenda that we need to get to. So I'm going to ask if folks have other questions that they please reach out to Dr. Mead after this meeting, okay? Thank you so much.
I can't think of anything more important than students getting squared away and parents being engaged with them.
I
Code of
certainly agree.
conduct, strengthening the code of conduct, the communication of the code of conduct to the parents and our district's expectations. I would think we would rank high on
Absolutely. That's why we
priorities.
brought Dr. Mead in. All right, Dr. Seelig?
Yeah, thank you so much, Anne. I just anecdotally, I read an article not too long ago. It said something like, you only really get 10% of a child's youth years in school when you add up the summer times and the vacations and the time out of school. So if the parents aren't acting as real partners in that process, there's a real speed limit to what we're going to be able to accomplish just in the hours a day that we have them. So I think this stuff is just so incredibly valuable. And I'm grateful Anne is just incredible at putting these things together and finding the funding. I mean, so many of these things are just grant funded. They don't impact our operating budget. So it's really, really tremendous work. Okay, so the last two things that we wanted to talk here. So overview of the Family Engagement Office. We just talked about that. The two big events that we wanted to figure out, and I know we have citywide PTO going on at 6, so that leaves us 20 minutes there. There's two events. Kate wanted to talk about introducing Brent Dean to the community to make sure that he had all the access that he needs, but also that they know who he is and sort of has the rubber stamp of the Board of Ed. And then also just a more general meet the board event, which I think would coordinate with some of the budget issues. So people could speak to some of the challenges that we're sort of anticipating. I don't know if you just want to talk about those together or one at a time. I don't know, Kate, do you want to lead off?
I think we should start with the meeting with the community meeting with Mr. Dean. I think that's sort of, from my perspective, we need to get that one going soon to welcome him into our district in a more formal fashion. We did have an introduction at City Hall with the Chamber of Commerce, and there were quite a few folks there. That was nice to see people, reaching out and sort of making themselves accessible for Mr. Dean. He's got a lot of work to do in our community to kind of get to know how we operate, to know what resources are available here. And I think we also have, a responsibility on our end to bring him forward as a new member of our school administration and to introduce him to our families so that they can get to know him and get to understand the work that he's also undertaking. So I guess with that in mind, I'm looking for some feedback as far as when folks might be available to participate in this, and to get some feedback from our administration as far as what we might be able to have in terms of refreshments, a place to host such an event, and what, if any, restrictions there are.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about like a wine and cheese idea. Maybe we can't do wine. I don't know. I know Kevin and Ann, if you have any thoughts on stuff we've done in the past, just ways to sort of bring Brent into the fold a little bit more.
Right. So I guess the first wondering is the format in which we would like to introduce Brent to the community. So I'm just curious, Kate and other board members, so I mean, certainly we can get Brent there, we can get food there, but what kind of format would we have for that type of meeting? What were we thinking? I'm just curious. Because I think that will play a role in how we're going to have food, what that layout's going to look like, where we're going to meet, et cetera.
Do any board members have feedback before I offer some?
Is this something that would be on school grounds or in a different, outside venue? How would that typically be done?
I think we'd probably get better attendance if we were able to do a restaurant or something.
Well, could I just move forward with the cold weather coming? And, outside would be nice.
Outside.
And I'm also thinking, as I looked at this and thought about this earlier, can number 1 be tied in with number 4 and do it in a way that, we're meeting and greeting board members. And then we're also introducing these new parents or parents that don't know who the new director of the Career Academy is. And I think, since we're going into the winter months, and how the place, how we're going to go about doing this is going to be very important. And anyone that we bring forth, we want to have a good turnout. We don't want 10 or 15 people coming out. So to incorporate the parents and some students, and maybe we might have to offer babysitting for someone, okay, to get the parents here, because a lot of the parents don't have anyone to watch their children in the afternoon. And still, we can meet and greet the board members, and we can also, at the same time, introduce Mr. Dean to the community as the director of the Career Academy and what he has done since he's been here. So, he's, from my understanding, he's met with quite a few people. So we know with that group of people that he's meeting with, like business people, so forth, if we put on something that's going to say, okay, we can, you can go up and shake his hand where you didn't get an opportunity before, they will come out. So it will, to me, it's the place and time and how you're going to go about doing it.
So Gladys, you're saying maybe just merge the 2 events, have them meet the board at the same time as meet Brent, just everybody get together and we do it all at the same time. And what was the event you had? I think it was towards the end of last year where it was a parent event, but then you were able to take the kids and they went and did an activity.
So we have a couple opportunities. That was at our family university that the kids break off. But I'm thinking, we have, and I'm tooting my own horn because I love the new building and I want to show it off. And we still have some work that we're doing with it to make it super, super family friendly. I would love to be able to show off that building and have a formal open house for our parents. I think it's an opportune time to be able to have that as meet the board. We're very well connected by an inside hallway to Ellsworth School. We could utilize the cafeteria with those easels set up with pictures of the academy. So we're, come to our open house, visit the new building, meet and board members, meet Brett Dean and find out more about what this academy is and what it looks like. There's, I think, an appetite right now in the community to find out what this is. I know that I've been receiving different emails from families saying, how do I get involved in the formation of this? So I'm really excited about that. And so I've been sending them to Dean as well as corporations. And then, of course, right there, while we're there, we do have the gym and we have the outdoor play area for the students. So the parents could come, we could do light refreshments upstairs, tour the building, or even have Brent upstairs in the waiting room with those boards that show pictures of what the academy is going to look like. So those were the initial boards that some of you may have seen when we were at City Hall.
I have to say that I do like the idea of doing this on a school property. I understand what you're saying about, being in a space that's a little bit more social. But I
Mhm.
think the benefit of doing it on a school property is that folks are somewhat familiar with that, families are somewhat familiar with that space already. And they might feel less intimidated about coming.
Sure, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I know too, there's still a lot of outstanding needs, on the sort of curriculum and instruction side of the academy. So, might be an opportunity to talk about, internships, externships, if there's folks in the community that could offer some of that stuff, industry certifications, guest speakers, all that kind of stuff, equipment donations. I know Kara has a long list of stuff she still needs right now to get the curriculum side of the shop up and running.
So can we look at a timeline for this? To Mrs. Cooper's point, the longer that we go, the colder it will get. Um, and I think some folks are going to be more comfortable meeting in a more open air environment still. Um, so from my perspective, the sooner we can do this, the better. But that, of course, depends on the schedules of the folks who are putting these pieces together.
Yeah.
So
I mean, my other thought is you make it a presentation or you make this the keynote for our November 5th date for the Family University. So we're hoping to do a light breakfast in the morning, followed by math, reading or ELA language, and science workshops and some social emotional workshops for parents. So they'll be able to receive at least 2 workshops. We had not planned on a keynote, but we certainly could introduce him, have a keynote, and have a team talk more about what the Pathways Academy is, because we're going to have a captivated audience.
How many will you have there, Anne?
Normally we run anywhere between 300 to 400 people.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a pretty
Yeah.
big event.
what time is it at?
Normally it starts about 8 or 8:30 with a light breakfast. Then we go into a keynote session and then back-to-back workshops for families, and we're done at 12:30.
is there anything preventing us from doing two of these? Like, I mean, the keynote, would that fit in? Would that dovetail with what you're doing? And then could we
Absolutely.
plan a separate event?
Yeah, we can do both. Yeah,
I
absolutely.
also like the idea that you suggested of hosting something at Osborne Street,
Mhm.
to sort of show folks this new facility and
Yeah.
invite the community in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do other board members have thoughts on it?
I like the idea. I'm not in. It all depends on what the group decides. I'm not in favor of a keynote speaker.
Okay.
I think you're going to bring Mr. Dean there to introduce him to the community. We're going to have board members there to say, my name is Mary Jo, and I live in this ward. I've been on the board, introduced. You have your superintendent to say a few words. I don't want to get into this long. My attention span is about an hour and 15 minutes.
Absolutely.
And then when you bring in a speaker, you most of the time you can't tell them how long to speak.
Right.
But when I have them at my church, I tell them how long to speak.
Right.
So, I'm not, when I'm working on a program, that's sort of the way I operate.
Right.
But
So, Mrs. Cooper-
that's how the group. If that's the way the groups want to go, it's okay. I just see it being a little bit too much if you're going to have a meet and greet with the board. You have your superintendent, who is our leader, to say a few words, greeting people, and then you introduce Mr. Dean to the community as the new director of the Career Academy, or maybe Kara say a few words, whichever way you want to break it down.
Yeah. When I said keynote, I kind of think of like that space less than an hour where we could do those activities that you're talking about, not have somebody rattle on.
Okay, thank you.
Whatever topic. Yeah, no, it was
5
really,
minutes.
more of an informational, how do we, inform the community about exactly what this Pathways Academy is.
Well, you were envisioning Dean as the keynote.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah, talking
So
about the background and stuff.
if the committee is interested in the 5th, I just want everyone to be aware, I will be coming back from DC that morning. And unlikely that I will be back in time for the meeting.
Mhm.
The national blue ribbon ceremonies are Thursday and Friday, and I'll be checking out on Saturday morning. So I just wanted to give the maybe a heads up on that.
Just that one word. I was thinking this was going to be an evening event because that's like a big block in the middle of the day for parents, right? That are working. Like when you were speaking of it, I kept thinking it was going to be in the evening.
I think this is a Saturday, Michelle.
Right.
Oh, the 5th is a Saturday?
Family
I didn't know.
University is a Saturday. Yeah,
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't have the calendar in front of me.
that's okay.
But I don't want to lose
I
the
only knew
momentum.
because Ann had
Oh,
already
it's
asked me about the 5th.
I don't want to lose the momentum of a possible second, introduction effort, to dovetail with opening up that space at Osborne Street. I think there's a benefit to as many exposures as we can give Brent in our community. I think that's going to help inform the way that he approaches the work he's doing here, and also give folks a lot of opportunity to understand what we're trying to do, because this is a big project that we're trying to push forward, and I think it's really important that the community be engaged in it.
Right.
So if we were to do that, I do like that idea, Dr. Mead. I don't want to
Mhm.
diminish that in any way. I think it's a great idea.
Which one, the evening or the Saturday or both?
Both of them. The
Okay.
Saturday, I like the idea of the Saturday Parent
Mhm.
University. So if that's okay, I would love to see him, be a part of that in whatever small way you feel is appropriate.
Okay.
And then, in terms of another event, I agree with Michelle. Doing this during the day is going to be very tough for
Right.
parents to get there. But to Mrs. Cooper's point, I think we also have to consider whether or not we can provide some sort of child supervision, student
Mhm.
supervision during that.
Mhm. Yeah, if we, after say 5 or 5:30, we can bring in some of our ELP people to be able to provide supervision in the gym or in the playground if the weather's still nice. So the families can really kind of key in having that conversation and building that relationship with Brent and with our board.
Okay. Mr. Russo, did you have something?
Oh, no, I'm good. Just
Okay.
play with the control.
Sorry. I guess with that in mind, is there a date in October that we could look at, or do you guys want to take a look at your calendars and then come back to us with some possibilities?
I'm going to look at my calendar.
Yeah.
Because we're looking at, you said October and November 5th. Was November 5th on our calendar, or is that just being brought up today?
It's been on
University.
it's been
Yeah.
on ours because we've started to do some of the planning for it. It's going to be small this year compared to other years because of the time. But more details will be coming out later next week on that.
When you're saying our calendar, you mean all of our calendar, the board, or
Yeah. No, we know the date. I'm working with our alumni from Parent C and from our PEP. That's part of the work that an alumni group does. It's a group of parents that actually help form this and put the event together. And so we're meeting this week to do some final planning. And then we'll have more details about it. We're meeting Wednesday night.
Okay, so then we'll have more confirmation as to whether you're looking at that date or another date.
No, that date, we're good with that date. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Getting very close to 6 o'clock, in an interest of being able to let some folks who need to get over to the citywide PTO meeting have the time to do that. I guess I just want to thank you all for coming this evening, and I think we're going to continue this conversation perhaps via email to figure out what is going to work best, and hopefully we can find a mutually agreeable date. And I hope we can count on board members, certainly on this committee, to participate in that event. And we'll certainly reach out to the larger board and invite them as well.
Absolutely.
Any closing thoughts before we go? All right. I will look for a motion to adjourn, please. Thank you, Mr. Russo. Can I get a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Michelle. Mrs.
Okay.
Cooper, did you get all that?
Yeah.
All right.